Good morning to everyone, to all the members of this core or trial assigned. My name is José Manuel Toquero, and this is my learning situation proposed for this academic year 2022 and 2023. It has been developed for a third level of compulsory secondary education in the autonomous community of Castilla y León, and the title says My Personal Preferences. The reason why I have chosen this title is because I want my students to perform and develop their skills when it comes to write, to speak, or to listen, any kind of personal choices, preferences, as the title says, or any kind of tastes related to food, to music, to sports, whatever it takes. Okay, so thank you for coming. Let's start by the index, because we have several sections, starting by a brief introduction, a justification, also the contextualization with the number of students and the difficulties or special needs that they need, they present, the legal foundations, the general and specific objectives, the contents, the key and specific competencies, the assessment criteria or the evaluation criteria, the methodology, the attention to diversity plan, the lesson planning, and the annexes. Of course, we have to distribute this unit or this learning situation throughout different sections. In this case, we have 6 sessions, which will take place in the second term of January and February, in those months, because we are coming back from the Christmas holidays, and this unit will take place in this period from the beginning of the second term. Okay, let's see the introduction. This is our device, our tool, our legal framework to develop a teaching plan. Of course, we take as a reference the new recommendation from the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union of 22nd of May 2018, which establishes a total of 8 key competencies that determine the qualification profile of all the students. They must fulfill this qualification profile at the end of the stage when they have completed it. And we have as a reference from this document from the European Union the operational descriptors used to determine that qualification profile and the acquisition of the competencies, and some devices which are proposed in an interdisciplinary proposals, being the students the agents of their learning processes and contributing effectively to the acquisition of these key competencies which are and have been developed recently with the new legislation. So this is our legal tool, justified by taking as reference the European Union documents or legislation, and then we move on to the justification. If we take as a reference, starting by the Constitution, the right to education, we have development of the Organic Law of Education, law from 2006, and the newest Organic Law from December of 2020, the Organic Law from December from 2020, which modifies previous regulations and indicates also the set of objectives, competencies, contents expressed in basic knowledge, methodology, and evaluation criteria for each of the different subjects. If we move on to Castilla y León, we have the Article 13 of the Royal Decree, the new Royal Decree from the newest plan or legal framework, which is 217 from 2022, and it has been developed, the syllabus also following the Decree 39 2022 from September, which has been taken from CyL, Boletín Oficial Castilla y León, which coincides with the main points of the previous Royal Decree and also establishes, regulates the implementation, evaluation, and development of the compulsory secondary education in this autonomous community. Of course, everything has been taken as the first reference, the European Council, the recommendation from the 22nd of May of 2018, which established the key competencies for lifelong learning, communication in foreign languages, and also in an appropriate range of societal and cultural contexts, according to one's needs. The contextualization, in particular, this school has a third level of compulsory secondary education with a classroom which has 70 students who are girls and 11 boys. 17 girls and 11 boys. Two facts that we have to take into account that will be explained later, which are that there are two boys who are immigrants and come from Morocco. Their ages are from a higher level, from 4th level of compulsory secondary education, but according to the qualifications, they have been assigned this 3rd level. And indeed, they have a lack of knowledge of the English as a language in order to follow all the curricular design established for the whole class. So we'll have to pay attention to this aspect. And also we have one boy, one teenager, who suffers a mental disease, a behavioral disorder, since he was 13, 14 years old. And this diagnosis requires psychological support overall and also medical attention, which corresponds to the parents, of course. But we have to develop specific measures to develop the attention to this teenager. The legal foundations are many ones, but we have taken as a reference the ones we have specified in the justification. The Organic Law from 2006, the newest Organic Law from 2020, the Royal Decree 217 from 2022, and the Decree 39 2022. Of course, there are many regulations, decrees related to the way of ruling a high school according to the necessities of the whole community, the special needs attention, the ICT plan. So here are the most important ones, which any teacher must know today. The general objectives have been taken from the Organic Law previously mentioned and also from the Royal Decree 217 of 2022 as follows. They have to assume their duties, know and exercise their rights while respecting the others. They have to develop and consolidate habits of discipline, study and individual and teamwork activities as a necessary condition for an effective performance of learning tasks. They also have to value and respect the difference between the sexes and equal rights and opportunities between them. Reject stereotypes that discriminate between men and women. They also have to strengthen their affective abilities in all areas of personality, their relationships with the others, as well as reject violence, prejudice of any kind, and so on. They also must develop an entrepreneurial spirit and self-confidence, participation, critical sense, personal initiative, understand and express themselves in one or more foreign languages appropriately, know and value and respect the basic aspects of their own culture, and appreciate artistic creation and understand the language of the artistic manifestations. This aspect or this general objective will be developed in this didactic unit, as we will explain later with hip-hop music, or explaining an interdisciplinary project based on the use of hip-hop music for the learning of foreign languages. Apart from these previous stage objectives already mentioned, the Autonomous Community of Castilla also includes, inside of the Decree 39 2022, the following ones, which are now analyze and value the aspect of the culture, traditions and values of the society of Castilla and León, recognize the natural heritage of the community, recognize and value the development of a scientific culture in the community of Castilla and León, inquiring about advances in mathematics, science, engineering and technology, and so on. But the specific objectives are mentioned here, which are related to the learning situation, the ones we are going to establish for the students and the profile that they must fulfill at the end of this stage, or the development of learning situation. They have to learn specific vocabulary used in descriptions, such as adjectives, double noun compounds, to describe preferences, to use present tenses, simple and continuous, and past tenses, simple and continuous, to describe the things that they have learned related to the previous vocabulary. They also will have to write an essay about personal preferences, now, in the past, and to understand specific information and vocabulary related to personal preferences. So everything is based on tastes. And finally, they will develop a PBL, a project-based learning, based on the use of hip-hop music by working with several softwares of recording and editing songs and mixing songs. And also they will create the lyrics by themselves, or they will learn how to create rhymes by using verses, not prose. So the next point are the contents. We have contents in communication, knowledge, skills, and attitude that allow coordinating or mediation activities in everyday situations, communicative functions, strategies of common use for the planning, execution, control and repair of the comprehension, production and co-production of oral, written, and multimodal text. This is the point of contents and the section A in communication. We also have plurilingualism, with the strategies of common use to identify, organize, retain, recover, and creatively use linguistic units, expressions and specific vocabulary in common use to exchange ideas about communication, language, learning, and learning tools. The letter C is related to interculturalism, in which the foreign language as a means of interpersonal communication serves as an interest and initiative, communicative exchange throughout different media with the speakers or students of the foreign language. And then we move on, talking about this, to the competencies, which is one of the most important things, because this academic year, we are not evaluating contents in writing and speaking, reading, no. We are evaluating competencies. So these are the key competencies we have to develop: the competence in linguistic communication, the multilingual competence, mathematical competence and competence in science, technology and engineering, the digital competencies, personal and social competency and learning to learn, citizen competence, entrepreneurial competency, competence in cultural awareness and expression. And in addition to this, we have from the CEFR, from the Common European Framework of Reference for the Learning of Languages, the first foreign language, and the Decree 39/2022 of September, we have included these ones: reception, production, interaction, mediation, plurilingualism, and interculturalism. They have to fulfill all these competencies, general and specific, in the qualification profile, and each subject contributes in different competencies in one manner or in another, depending on the percentage, because it's not the same evaluate the language in maths that evaluate the language in French, or in the language production in Spanish or in English or in French. The next point is the assessment criteria. We have per each specific competency some achievement indicators summarized according to the evaluation criteria. So we have the specific competency 1, reception, which some evaluation criteria which are extract and analyze the general sense and the main ideas and select information from oral and written and multimodal text, understand the context and discourse features of increasingly complex text, and then we have the achievement indicators which are can answer general and specific questions after listening to a recording, watching a video clip, or working with mobile tests, can rearrange the scrambled paragraphs in a test, can identify the main ideas in an argumentative test, and so on. If we move on to different competencies, the first one is reception, the second one is production, and we have here more points in production because I think it's the most important thing after understanding the language to be able to produce the language in a written or an oral spoken manner. We have the specific competency 3, which is interaction, the specific competency 4, which is mediation, which each evaluation criteria followed by the achievement indicators as follows. And then we move on to the specific competency 5, plurilingualism, and the achievement indicators and the evaluation criteria for the interculturalism, which are important too, because it is mainly to behave in an adequate, emphatic, and respectful attitude in intercultural situations, mostly. The methodology implemented here in the classroom, for this point, it is important to highlight the fact that the Decree 39/2022 establishes the organization for the curriculum for compulsory secondary education, and it includes in Article 5, among the elements that constitute the curriculum, not only the methodological principles, but also more general pedagogical principles, so the actions which should be used. For this reason, it's necessary to start mentioning first how we follow the pedagogical principles, which are the following: personalized attention, attention and respect the difference, and respond to learning difficulties previously identified on which arise along the stage. So be a mediator and interact with the students in the learning processes, which shows the contents, the competencies, and the activity of the teacher. We follow a communicative approach based on pragmatics and functional notional syllabuses like the ones proposed by the CFER. The main characteristic of our method is the conversion of the activities into tasks where students work more autonomously and which involves more cooperation. For this reason, the learning situation is the ideal background to apply this task-based approach. Clean methodology is also applied, and the extensive use of ICTs is another important characteristic of the methodology followed in the didactic program, since they constitute an essential tool to carry out active methodologies and cooperative work. This is the methodology, and we move on to the measures implemented for the attention to diversity. According to Longloy, to the last regulations established in 2020 from the Governing Law, the attention to diversity of students with different rhythms and styles will be carried out by the combination of diverse inclusive activities. So we will adapt the methodology not individually but per groups of 5-6 students, more or less, 7 at least, in the higher number. But the attention to diversity involves taking actions to know the characteristics of each student and to adjust them to combining strategies, methods, technologies, techniques, and organization of spaces and times. So we organize the classroom not in the classical way, but I would like to establish all the tables and the chairs throughout the classroom in a surrounding way, like a circle or circumference in which the teacher is in front but at the middle, and the rest are creating a circle or circumference or a nu as the letter of the ABC, for instance. So each one can see each other. So in this case, we have 2 plans for attention on the diversity, which are created for the students from Morocco, which are at the level of the activities, but some propose specific measures for the boy who suffers disruptive behavior are proposed below. Avoid problems by using gestures, look, invasion of territory, be assertive but not aggressive, propose him tasks he may carry out successfully, of course. So we have different students, different needs, and the teacher has the tools which are required to establish a cross-curricular development of all the contents, the competencies, and the assessment criteria to develop different and several tasks per groups of level or per groups of rhythm of learning. And finally, we have the lesson plan of 6 sections, as I told you at the beginning, in which the session 1, which will start with a debating groups of our personal preferences, talking in the classroom individually or the whole classroom, expressing ideas, opinions. The main skills developed are going to be listening and speaking, but the competencies are the things we are going to evaluate. And we have linguistic competency in communication and communication in culture, awareness and expression competency. And also we have the digital competency. We will read the text and we will make extraction activities of vocabulary related to preferences. And we will start by mentioning the first touch with the hip hop or rap project developed at the end by the students, in which they will write, they will record, and they will mix with music their lyrics in English, of course, just in English, or in just another case in French, not Spanish. The session 2 starts with an activity 1 in which they are describing personal habits and routines now and before. For instance, they can say, I like it to go to the park when I was younger, but now I like to go to the cinema. I like, I don't like, I am used, I not used, common expressions in English. And they will use some comparative structures as a support from this activity, in which they will learn how to say, I like bigger cinemas because they are more amazing than smaller ones, for instance. And they will finish by expressing opinions in pairs by using past and current habits, by using the adjectives in a correct order. For instance, I was used to walk throughout the path of the river when I was a child, but now I am used to run throughout the city in the suburb areas, for instance. Okay, some common expressions, some listening activities in the session 3 to listen to other participants expressing their ideas and to collect information and be able to express the things that they have understood or listened before, and then they will deliver an essay of 200 or 150 words in which they will talk about their preferences by showing their production skills when it comes to write opinions and argumentative tests mostly. But here we will start in activity 4 in the session 3 with some examples of rhythm, poetry, on songs made by me and many students I have recorded previously in a private contest or framework by anonymous participants, and they will see and they will listen how to create music by using Audacity, which is the main tool, which is a software which is free to use and very easy to mix with an instrumental or rap music of any kind of music. And in the next session, they will talk by the things that they did in the weekend, in past simple, in past continuous, and we have a reinforcement activity in which they will talk about rules, obligations, and decisions by using two modal verbs which are must and should with the affirmative form, interrogative form, and the negative form. Must, mustn't, and interrogative form, and they will learn how to use them in many structures which are from common context or daily use. The session 5, which is the previous one for the presentations of the work done in the PBL learning based on the use of hip hop music and poetry, and there will be a correction of the exercises done in the previous day, and then they will have the whole time of the rest of the session, 45-50 minutes, depending on the correction time required. They will have this time to develop the recording process with the help of my skills to work with Audacity, which I'm very used, and I had certificates of learning use in massive music production and also audiovisual production. So this will be applied in the whole high school to create a video clip against the gender violence or the situation in Spain which women are totally discriminated by the men nowadays. So in favor of the rights of the women, we will create a great video clip and also many other projects related to hip-hop expression or rap music. So the lesson plan for session 6 will be the presentation of the production of the classrooms, and in any case we have 6 sessions. The 6th session, this is the last one, but the 7th session could be a review exam or task or test in written format in which the students could have a great variety of tasks as a review. This is all, and then in the analysis we have the first analysis, which are the abbreviations from the lesson plan, the type of interaction, which can be individual, pairs, groups, or the whole class. The type of activities is a warm-up, a main activity or informed and extension or consolidation, assessment and special needs. And the main skills developed in the activities listening, speaking, reading, and writing, followed by the competencies developed in the learning situation for each session, which are 8. Then is 2 sources, student tracking sheet, in which we have the personal data and the contact information in order to keep the parents informed about the behavior or their progress of their sons or daughters or children or students. The Annex 3 shows the most compulsory sheet for any teacher, which is the attendance sheet, in which we have the right attendance, the non-attendance justified or not justified by the parents, with an additional document signed by them or by any doctor or any person who has justified the non-attendance. The Annex 4 shows the sheet for evaluation or one of the many charts of rubrics which could use for the evaluation of all the sessions of each student, because this is a summative evaluation and we have to take in contrast the session 1, the second session, the session 3, the fourth session, session 5, and so on. And the Annex 5, so here we have some didactic resources based on the use of rap music, English written lyrics, by me in this case, which have rhythm, which could be used by the students if they don't have reference at the beginning or they want to rhyme with words. They could use these sentences, which are very basic. And an example of a couple of verses could be, I have created lyrics, a good job, which is fun, perhaps you don't believe it, but you want to skate or sound. They could choose these sentences as a reference, but in any case, I will teach them how to rhyme by using online dictionaries. The Annex 6 shows useful materials based on the use of rap music, which are folders and videos mainly published by me with anonymous participants in many contexts. The Annex 7 shows us the bibliography, the webography too, and the textbook publishers. And finally, the Annex 7 could be an example presentation in the case that the students have no time to record the stanzas, but they have produced them with just some pictures and the lyrics written will be more than enough to show a mural or a PowerPoint. But in any case, I would like to combine this aspect with the music or the subject of music with the help of the teacher of music, if it is possible, in this interdisciplinary project which was developed by me in my TFM after the Master of Secondary Education. Okay, so this is all. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you have any question, you can talk with me by Google Mail, by Skype, by any other way of communication which is connected to the internet. And I hope you can use this device as a reference for your learning situation development. Thank you very much. Bye bye.